The Oklahoma Sooners could be on the verge of a massive recruiting stretch here in the month of June. So we've seen Oklahoma start to land some recruits. You're starting to see a lot of top recruits across the country narrow down their lists and put Oklahoma in their top 4, 5, and 6 schools. So the question is, what does this mean for the Oklahoma Sooners' future? And is it possible for Oklahoma to even scratch into the top 15? We're going to dive into a little bit of that today. Before we do, though, as always, I need to hear from y'all. So join the discussion, jump in the comments below, and let me know what you guys think so far about this 2026 recruiting cycle for Oklahoma and what you guys think about this, although small, really good class that Oklahoma's put together. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. But of course, I want to start today with probably one of the bigger targets this week that announced Oklahoma being in his top schools list, and that is going to be Drew Evers. And when you look at this list, you see a lot of elite schools here. And yeah, this dude's got like 38 or more offers. And if you're an Oklahoma fan, the Evers name sounds familiar. That's because this is the younger brother of Nick Evers, who ended up transferring out of Oklahoma and is now at UConn. But Drew Evers has been here a ton. Obviously, he came a lot with his brother when his brother came on recruiting visits, and I don't believe those were actually ever really documented. But Drew Evers has been to Oklahoma like 7 or 8 times. Like, he's been to campus a ton, and that's next up to Texas A&M and SMU, where he's been like 5 times. And both of those schools are in his top 6. So one of the big things that I notice here when I look at the top 6, I see a lot of schools that develop the offensive line really well. And then you're starting to see SMU really pop up with Oklahoma in some of these recruitments. SMU is really focused on the idea of NIL being in the Dallas area and trying to keep a lot of those kids home. And so for Oklahoma, when you look at probably the 2 schools that are going to cause them the most trouble, you identify Texas A&M. Texas A&M has been pushing hard for Drew Evers for a long time. And then obviously SMU, because SMU is making a renewed push to keep a lot of these guys in the state of Texas or even around the Dallas area at home. Now, for Oklahoma, though, the great news is Drew Evers could come in, be an elite guard for you. He has a really great relationship with Bill Bedenbaugh. His family likes Brent Venables and the staff. So, kind of, I think what a lot of people have the Nick Evers stuff in the back of their mind. I don't think any of that will ever play a role into Drew Evers' recruitment. But if Oklahoma is actually able to go out here and land Drew Evers, this will be a phenomenal addition to the class. So that's a kid that I think every Oklahoma fan should be watching. And when you look at the future of offensive line recruiting and who Oklahoma could potentially go out there and get in this cycle, because right now you've just got Will Conroy, who is currently the commit that's at IMG Academy, was originally in the state of Ohio when he committed to Oklahoma. You look at Carter Scruggs as a potential offensive tackle candidate. And that one's going to be pretty hard for Oklahoma. I believe they were just announced in his top schools list as well. But you've got the Clemsons, the Michigans, the Georgias, the Penn States. And Clemson has been a thorn in Oklahoma's side on the recruiting trail. So I don't expect Oklahoma to necessarily be able to go out there and land Carter Scruggs right away. However, I do think they have a decent chance to get Carter Scruggs in the class. I think he's an elite tackle, and Oklahoma's still going to want to take one really nice tackle in this class, assuming that Ojo probably is not going to land here. I think he's probably going to end up at Ohio State at the moment, but things like that can always change. I do like Deacon Schmidt, though. You see him down here, 6'5", 320 pounds. I believe he is listed on the interior. I believe this is a kid that maybe eventually could down the road play tackle, but could probably be more of like a swing guard tackle, right? A guy that can play multiple positions. But Deacon Schmidt out of Windsor, Colorado, great relationship with Bill Bedenbaugh. Remember, we've had him here on the podcast. He's talked about that relationship, gone into depth. If you haven't watched that, make sure you go check that out. But that's a guy that I 100% think could end up in Oklahoma's class at this point. If you ask me today, I would say yes, I think he does. You look at Noah Best down here out of Midlothian, Texas, kind of like Drew Evers, right? You're seeing a lot of the common offenders. You're seeing SMU. You're seeing Texas A&M. You see, a lot of those schools want to go out there and grab a guy like Noah Best. But this is a kid that's originally from the state of Oklahoma. A lot of people don't know that. And so I look at it and say, I think Drew Evers could potentially end up in this class as well. And so Oklahoma's still got a lot of good targets. I mean, when you scroll up and down the board, a lot of these guys currently have official visits currently scheduled with Oklahoma. Hayden Ainsworth was a guy that got an offer. Desmond Green just recently got an offer from Oklahoma. When you go up to the tackles, Tavian Branch is such an intriguing prospect. Right now, he's kind of like a defensive line, offensive line hybrid guy. Not quite big enough to play the tackle position, but, we've had him on for the interview, and, there's a good chance that guy down the road could play tackle if he ends up having a growth spurt. So I think there's still a lot of great targets for Oklahoma on the board. And as an Oklahoma fan, that's got to make you feel good. Bill Bedenbaugh's going to do what he needs to do. And with Jim Nagy at the helm, you would imagine they're going to prioritize offensive linemen, especially tackles, on the recruiting trail. But another guy that you saw include Oklahoma in his top schools list was a guy by the name of Craig Dandridge. And I had to go out there and go do a little research on this guy because this was not a name that I had heard a ton, not a guy that I've necessarily talked to, but 6'1", 172 pounds, out of Alpharetta, Georgia, out of Cambridge High School, a total of 25 total offers. He had an official visit to Stanford on May 16th, going to Georgia on May 30th, and you kind of have to wonder, right? Is Georgia going to be able to close the deal at that point in time? Georgia Tech on June 6th, Tennessee on June 13th. Tennessee obviously does a phenomenal job with those offensive skill players. And, they've got Brandon Faison coming in that class in 2026, who's the number 1 overall player. So Tennessee's got a lot in their pockets to be able to try to convince him. He's been to Oklahoma, I believe, one time. I don't think he's been here any more than that. But this is a guy that, hey, like, you got to trust what Emmett Jones can go out there and do and recruit at a high level. In 2024, this guy had 58 receptions, 1,443 yards, 14 receiving touchdowns. So although he's the number 309th ranked player nationally with a really strong senior year, this is a guy that probably could go and bolt himself up into the top 150 players in the entire country. He is really that good, and he's got the offers to be able to back him up. So this is one that, as an Oklahoma fan, you really just got to watch it, right? And you've got to see kind of where this one's going to land. But lastly, I think one of the guys that we have to really watch is this guy right here, Jacob Eberhart. Jacob Eberhart. I really hope I said that right. 6'3", 200 pounds, out of St. Louis, Missouri. Jacob, kind of like a hybrid guy, can do a lot of things for you. Swiss Army on offense. This is a guy that's, I think, starting to pick up some steam with a lot of schools. 40 total offers. 40. Now, his only official visit that I think he has scheduled was to Illinois on April 4th. But if you go through and you look at this kid's offer list, you see Missouri, obviously out of the state of Missouri. That's going to be a huge offer, and one that any school is going to have a hard time potentially fending off. We've seen Missouri be a formidable opponent in these recruiting battles as of late over the past couple of years in the NIL era. You got Ohio State, you got Oregon, Tennessee, Texas A&M, USC, Alabama, right? So he's got a lot of the offers that you look for when you look for a guy like this. Includes Oklahoma in his top 7 with Alabama, Oregon, Nebraska, Illinois, Missouri, and LSU. So we'll have to see where Oklahoma can land on this one. I do not think that this is necessarily going to be a recruitment that Oklahoma wins, but, it's just nice to see Oklahoma in a lot of these elite recruiting battles because, the narrative, especially this recruiting cycle, has been that Oklahoma City can't do it. So we'll have to kind of see where Oklahoma can land there. But guys, I want to hear from y'all. So join the discussion, jump in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like and you hit that subscribe button.